They say that once a portrait is hung in the Louvre, it belongs to history forever. But on the morning of February 24, 2026, history took a sharp, jagged turn into a global scandal. Visitors walking through the Denon wing, past the masterpieces of the Renaissance, were met with an image that shouldn't exist. It wasn't a Delacroix or a Da Vinci. It was a high-resolution photograph of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, captured in the back of a police vehicle just days ago, looking broken, ashen, and utterly defeated. This wasn't a royal commission. It was a guerrilla art strike that has sent shockwaves from Paris to Buckingham Palace. The image, taken seconds after his release from 11 hours of interrogation, was housed in a gilded frame, looking every bit like a permanent exhibit. But it was the brass plaque underneath that delivered the killing blow to the royal reputation. It didn't list his titles or his lineage. It simply read, "He's sweating now." It is a brutal, three-word indictment of a man who once claimed a medical inability to sweat as a legal defense. In an instant, the royal shield has been replaced by global mockery. But while the internet turns this arrest into a meme, the legal reality is much darker. This photo represents the first time in 400 years that the world has seen a senior member of the House of Windsor treated like a common suspect. Before we dive into the shadowy group that pulled off this security breach at the world's most famous museum, I need to hear from you. Is this museum mugshot a justified act of public protest, or has the world lost its respect for the rule of law? Go ahead and hit that like button, share this video to spread the word, and subscribe so you don't miss our deep dive into the digital evidence being extracted as we speak. Most importantly, drop a comment with your opinion and let us know exactly where in the world you are watching this collapse from. We're tracking the global reaction in real time. Now let's talk about the group that managed to hang the Duke right under the noses of French intelligence. While museum security at the Louvre is designed to stop world-class thieves, it wasn't prepared for the rise of artivism. The group behind this digital age ambush calls themselves Everyone Hates Elon. Usually known for targeting tech billionaires and corporate giants, they have pivoted their sights toward the ultimate symbol of inherited privilege, the House of Windsor. This wasn't just a prank, it was a surgical strike on the royal image. The mechanics of the stunt were deceptively simple. On Sunday, February 22nd, members of the group reportedly entered the museum disguised as ordinary tourists. Hidden under coat was a mock-ornate gold frame containing that now iconic Reuters photograph of Andrew, slumped and broken in the back of a Range Rover. In a matter of seconds, they used high-strength adhesive to fix the arrest portrait to a gallery wall, right in the path of thousands of unsuspecting visitors. They didn't just hang a picture, they created a scene. As tourists stopped to take selfies with the new exhibit, the group filmed the confusion, later posting it to Instagram with the defiant caption, "They say hang it in the Louvre, so we did." By the time museum staff realized the frame wasn't part of the permanent collection and tore it down 15 minutes later, the footage had already been beamed to every corner of the globe. In a statement, a spokesperson for the group made their mission clear. They wanted to ensure that the world remembers Andrew Mountbatten Windsor not for his titles, but for the moment the law finally caught up with him. They described the act as justice for all Epstein survivors, transforming a highbrow art gallery into a courtroom of public opinion. By the end of the day, the Louvre was forced to deal with a security breach that didn't involve a stolen painting, but a stolen narrative. The message was sent: no wall is high enough to hide a royal from the judgment of the streets. If a single image can define the end of an era, it is the one taken by Reuters photojournalist Phil Noble on the night of February 19th. As the world's media descended on the historic market town of Aylsham, Noble waited for over 6 hours in the cold, betting on a single tip-off that the former prince was being held at a small, unassuming police station in Norfolk. When the gates finally opened at 7:00 p.m., he had only a split second to react. The result was more than just a photograph. It was a psychological autopsy of a fallen royal. Shot through the glass of a moving Range Rover, the image captures Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in a state of total emotional collapse. There are no medals here, no royal crests, and no palace guards. Instead, we see a man with reddened eyes, hunched shoulders, and a 1,000-yard stare that seems to realize, for the first time, that his title can no longer protect him. Experts in visual psychology are calling this the royal pert walk. Unlike the carefully curated portraits of the past, images designed to project strength, authority, and divine right, this photograph projects the one thing a monarchy cannot survive: vulnerability. By capturing a senior royal through the same lens usually reserved for common suspects, the image has leveled the playing field. It has transformed a prince into a defendant. The impact was instantaneous. Within hours, the photo was splashed across every major newspaper from The Times to The Guardian, serving as a visual shorthand for the most significant royal crisis since the execution of Charles I. But it's the way the public has weaponized this image that is truly unprecedented. From the viral memes to the guerrilla art in the Louvre, this single frame of a slumped, shell-shocked man has become the logo for a global movement demanding accountability. Phil Noble may have set out to take a news photo, but he ended up capturing the decisive moment, where 1,000 years of royal mystery were replaced by the cold, hard reality of a police interrogation. But as the mockery in Paris reaches a fever pitch, the focus is shifting from the court of public opinion to the halls of sovereign power. While activists were hanging a mugshot in the Louvre, the Australian government was delivering a blow that could be the final nail in the coffin of Andrew's royal life. In a historic move that has sent shockwaves through the Commonwealth, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has officially signalled his support for the Succession Exclusion Bill. This isn't just a political gesture, it is a constitutional earthquake. For the first time in modern history, one of the 14 overseas realms where the king is head of state has formally agreed that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor must be stripped of his place in the line of succession, under the Perth Agreement of 2011. Any change to the succession laws requires the unanimous consent of all these nations. By saying yes today, Australia has effectively kicked over the first domino. The Prime Minister's letter to London was reportedly blunt. It cited the untenable position created by the criminal investigation and the damage being done to the reputation of the Crown in Australia. With Republican sentiment already simmering in the Southern Hemisphere, the Australian government is making it clear they will not remain part of a system that allows a man under investigation for misconduct in public office to remain a potential heir to their throne. This puts King Charles III in an impossible position. He can no longer treat this as a family matter or a domestic UK scandal. It is now a global diplomatic crisis. With Australia leading the charge, eyes are now turning to Canada and New Zealand. If they follow suit, the king will be forced to choose between protecting his brother's technical rights or saving the unity of the entire Commonwealth. The royal shield is being dismantled piece by piece, and the first piece was just taken by the Australian Parliament. While a photo in a museum can humiliate a man, only an act of Parliament can erase him from history. As we move into the final week of February 2026, the British government is reportedly preparing the most significant piece of monarchical legislation in nearly a century, the Succession Exclusion Bill. This isn't just about tidying up a list of names. It is a legal firewall designed to ensure that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor can never, under any circumstances, sit on the throne of the United Kingdom. To understand the gravity of this, you have to realise that Andrew is currently 8th in line to the throne. While that seems distant, the government's fear is what they call the heartbeat theory, the idea that a catastrophic event could theoretically leave a man under investigation for state secrets in charge of the entire nation. Defence Minister Luke Pollard has been blunt, stating that removing him is the right thing to do, regardless of the outcome of the police investigation. This is a move intended to protect the office, not the individual. But here is where it gets complicated. In the UK, the king cannot simply cross a name off the list with a pen. Because the monarchy is a constitutional institution, removing an heir requires a full act of parliament, a process that hasn't been used for this purpose since the abdication of Edward VII in 1936. This bill will have to be debated in the House of Commons, scrutinised in the House of Lords, and ultimately given royal assent by King Charles himself. It is a public, legal dismantling of a royal life. The stakes are higher than just a title. If this bill passes, it won't just remove his right to the throne, it will automatically strip him of his role as a counsellor of state. This is the position that allows him to legally stand in for the king if the monarch is ill or abroad. The government's message is clear. A man who allegedly traded state secrets for $12 million cannot be trusted with the pen that signs the laws of the land. According to the latest polls, 82% of you agree. The public doesn't just want him out of the palace, they want him out of the Constitution. But as the lawyers in London draft the bill, the forensic teams in Norfolk are finding the why behind the rush. We are now getting reports of what investigators are calling the digital extraction. During those 11 hours Andrew spent at the Aylsham police station on February 19th, a specialised unit of the Thames Valley Police was reportedly performing a bit-by-bit mirror of his private servers seized from Royal Lodge. The focus of this search is narrow and lethal. They are looking for a series of emails from late 2010, specifically October 7th. This was a window of time when Andrew was serving as a trade envoy, and Jeffrey Epstein was reportedly looking for high-value openings in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. The theory, that the Duke was allegedly BCCing Epstein on sensitive government trade briefs before they were even seen by the Prime Minister. This brings us back to that viral image in the Louvre, the one captioned, "He's sweating now." If these emails exist, and if they show a direct link between the state secrets he handled and the $12 million moved into the BVI shell company, then the sweat isn't just a meme, it's the evidence of a guilty mind. The police aren't just looking for a social connection anymore. They are looking for a digital paper trail that proves a prince was working as a private contractor for a billionaire predator. This digital evidence is the reason the succession exclusion bill is moving with such unprecedented speed. The government isn't waiting for a trial because they've seen enough to know the damage is already done. While the activists in Paris celebrate a visual victory, the detectives in Norfolk are holding the keys to a digital cage. Every deleted email, every remote wipe attempt, and every encrypted attachment is being dragged into the light of 2026. While the digital extraction at the police station was happening, a different kind of forensic work was taking place back at the Sandringham estate. Investigators are now obsessively focused on what they are calling the Sandringham gap, the critical window between the moment the search warrants were signed and the moment the police breached the perimeter of Wood Farm. There is a growing suspicion that this wasn't just a period of waiting, it was a period of scrubbing. Reports from local residents suggest that in the early hours of February 19th, before the dawn raid, the lights at Wood Farm remained on throughout the night. Even more suspicious, the sudden appearance of a private secure shredding van seen leaving the area just before the police convoy arrived. This has led to a secondary inquiry into potential obstruction of justice. If physical ledgers or hard drives were destroyed during those final, missing, hours, the charge against the former prince could escalate from misconduct to a deliberate attempt to sabotage a Crown investigation. But here is where the activists in Paris and the hackers in Norfolk intersect. While the Sandringham gap may have allowed for the destruction of physical paper, the digital footprint is proving much harder to erase. The activists who hung that photo in the Louvre claim they were tipped off by whistleblowers, who were disgusted by the alleged attempt to wipe the servers. It seems that in 2026, the faster you try to delete a secret, the more attention you draw to it. The gap was supposed to be a sanctuary, but it might actually be the trap that catches him. But the rebellion isn't just happening in police interview rooms or art galleries, it's happening across the world. The Commonwealth revolt has officially moved beyond Australia. Just this morning, reports have emerged that New Zealand and Jamaica are in high-level talks to coordinate a joint response to the succession exclusion bill. The Louvre mugshot has become the unofficial logo for these movements, appearing on protest banners from Kingston to Auckland. This is the nightmare scenario for Buckingham Palace. For decades, the Commonwealth was seen as the soft power shield of the monarchy, but now that shield has turned into a spear. These nations are making it clear, they no longer view the royal family as a distant, dignified institution. Instead, they are seeing a family that allegedly used the prestige of the Commonwealth to hide a $12 million secret. In Jamaica, the call for an immediate apology and reparations has been linked directly to the Epstein files, with leaders asking how a prince could earn $12 million for analysis, while the realms he represents struggle for basic investment. This global uprising is why the silent meeting between King Charles and his brother was so brief. The king knew that every minute he spent in that room with Andrew was another minute the Commonwealth moved closer to the exit. He wasn't just protecting his brother, he was trying to save a crumbling empire. But as the image of the sweating prince continues to circulate globally, the consensus is shifting. The Commonwealth doesn't want a silent king, they want a transparent one. They are demanding that the royal shield be dismantled not just for Andrew, but for the future of the monarchy itself. While the succession exclusion bill focuses on the future, there is a much more immediate legal crisis threatening the security of the British state right now, the Councillor of State problem. As of February 24, 2026, despite being under active police investigation and having been stripped of his prince title months ago, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor remains, technically and legally, one of the few individuals authorised to act as a stand-in for the king. To the average person, this sounds like a glitch in the system. Under the Regency Acts, the councillors of state are the monarch's spouse and the first 4 people in the line of succession who are over the age of 21. Because he is 8th in line, and because the line is currently thin on eligible adults, Andrew is still on that list. This means that if King Charles were to fall ill or be abroad, the man currently being investigated for allegedly selling state secrets could, in theory, be called upon to sign royal proclamations or appoint judges. The government's reaction to this has been one of pure constitutional panic. We are hearing reports from Whitehall that the Cabinet Office has been working through the night to find a way to bypass this legal loophole before the police investigation goes to trial. While the King successfully added Princess Anne and Prince Edward to the pool of councillors back in 2022 to dilute Andrew's influence, he didn't actually remove him. But in 2026, dilution is no longer enough. The public and the opposition are demanding a total eviction from the constitutional record. This is the real-world pressure behind the succession exclusion bill. It isn't just about the crown, it's about the pen. The government cannot allow a situation where a man accused of misconduct in public office still holds a public office of such immense symbolic and legal power. By removing him from the line of succession, the bill will automatically disqualify him as a councillor of state. It is the final delete key for his royal career. For Andrew, the councillor title was the last shred of his former life, a tiny piece of the royal shield that he still held onto. But as the sun sets on February 24th, that shield is officially being taken away. As we look at the wreckage of this royal life, we have to face the final, haunting conclusion of this 30-minute investigation, the verdict of history. We began this update with a mugshot in the Louvre, and we end it with a constitutional purge in Parliament. In less than a week, a man who spent 66 years as a prince of the realm has been reduced to a global meme, a police suspect, and a constitutional problem to be solved by legislation. The question we started with was, is there any coming back from being a museum exhibit for shame? The answer, as we see the Commonwealth countries like Australia and New Zealand turn their backs, appears to be a definitive no. In the 21st century, the divine right of kings has been replaced by the digital accountability of citizens. Whether it is a bank transfer in the Virgin Islands, an email from 2010, or a viral photo in Paris, the world has decided that the royal shield can no longer hide the truth. This hasn't just been a story about one man's fall, it's been a story about the survival of an institution. By allowing the Succession Exclusion Bill to proceed and by staying silent during that 10-minute meeting at Sandringham, King Charles III has made a choice. He has chosen the crown over his brother. He has decided that for the monarchy to live, the Duke of Secrets must legally and symbolically die. As we wait for the Crown Prosecution Service to make their final decision on the indictment, the world remains on edge. We've seen the mugshot, we've heard the Australian yes, and we've seen the digital files being dragged into the light. The trial of the century is no longer coming. It has already begun in the court of public opinion. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the collapse of a royal life. What is your final verdict on the Louvre stunt and the Commonwealth rebellion? Do you think the Succession Exclusion Bill is the right move for the future of the UK? Make sure you've hit that like button, shared this video with those who need to see the full story, and subscribed for our next update as we track the final decision on the charges. I'm your narrator, and I'll see you as the next chapter of this history-making case unfolds.